I want to be the best. I want to be better than everybody, you know. But I feel like you have to have that mindset to be successful.
Yes, for sure.
And I love being underestimated, you know. I feel like it gives me, you know, Michael Jordan used to say that before he plays a game, like he used to find something that would push him a little bit.
Davido. I remember I even did like a hook for one of the songs that you guys probably know this. So like, what again? Can you remember those times? Like, how great were those times? And like, do you guys have?
I remember those times so clearly. Like,
so we've spoken about future goals for Konga, but personal goals. What are your own kind of future personal goals? What more do you want to do? It's a tough question.
First of all, I need to get married.
Lagos's most eligible bachelor. Welcome to the Emeka Nwani Show, brought to you by Our House Studios. Here, I'll bring interesting discussions with leading individuals in various fields, discussing their successes, setbacks, and everything in between. I also hope I can bring one or two laughs along the way. Welcome to the Emeka Nwani Show. I have a special guest in the building today, an old classmate of mine, a successful young entrepreneur, the founder of Yudala, and now the CEO of Konga Group, and an all-round great guy, my brother, Nnamdi Ekeh. Welcome, bro.
Good to be here, bro.
Welcome, bro. Should I even call you Prince? Because guy, all of a sudden, I've known this guy for like 15 years, and all of a sudden, there's Prince. Yeah. Prince behind his name. Where did that come from?
I've gone through different names. Yes, you used to call me Hikaru.
So where did Prince come from? Are you like?
So funny thing is, my first name is actually Prince.
Okay. So your name is actually Prince.
My name is actually Prince. So my full name is Prince Nnamdi Ekeh.
Okay.
So Prince is actually my first name. But
I see.
Based on Nigeria, people
I thought it was like a title.
People call me Nnamdi. You know, I wish.
Okay, nice one, bro. Okay, Nnamdi, so what we also like to do on this show is to get to know people a bit better, like their background. Because for me, it's very important to know where someone came from to get them to where they are today.
Yeah.
Right? You're doing great things, successful young entrepreneur, as I said, right? So I want to know like more about your background. So I know you just came back from the UK celebrating your mom's 60th, right?
Yeah.
I could see how close-knit you guys' family is. So I just want to know, what was life like for you growing up with your parents, your siblings? You know, what values did they instill in you from a young age?
Man, I think everything I have today, I owe it to my parents, because I think my parents raised me in the perfect way. My parents are not very traditional parents.
Okay.
They're not very conservative. I would say they lean more liberal. But they're still Nigerian parents.
Yeah,
so.
of course, yeah.
But they always gave me the freedom to express myself, the freedom to do what I wanted. There was never a conversation of what I should study in university. There's never a conversation of what I should do after I'm in university. You know, it's what do you want to do? You know, they always give me that option. So I really appreciate them for that flexibility. But growing up, both my parents are business people. My mom runs one of the largest companies in the family group.
Okay.
So they always instilled that business mindset in me growing up. Like as young as 12, I used to follow my dad to the warehouse.
Okay.
Like as young as 12, 13, like I knew warehouse processes, raising POs, purchase order, supply chain management.
From 12?
Yeah, from 12, inbound, outbound processes in the warehouse. Like I knew all this from a young age. And then when I was around 14, 15, my mom is a chartered accountant.
Okay.
So she started teaching me about finance. So before I was 18, I could interpret the P&L statement or balance sheet of any company.
Wow,
you know?
okay.
And then based on that, she now got me into stock trading. So I mean, my parents really set like this very strong foundation for me.
I think that's interesting. Before we get to even the business side, hearing that, you know, Igbo parents, I believe your dad's from Imo State, right?
Yeah, both my parents are from Imo.
They're both from Imo State. Yeah. So again, being a young Nigerian, having an Igbo dad from Delta, I know how parents can sometimes be in terms of Nigerian parents. We know how they can be sometimes in terms of being strict, or you must study law, you must study this. I would say ironically too, I feel my dad was quite similar. I don't know if it's because it's Delta Igbo, but he was always quite liberal as well, in the sense where, you know, there was always that presence there, but at the same time, he allowed us like do what we wanted to do, make our mistakes. And so I'm very interested to hear that, like your dad wasn't necessarily strict, especially seeing all he has accomplished and you know what you are doing as well. So they gave you the space to make mistakes. They gave you the space to figure out what you wanted to do, right?
Yeah. And I really appreciate them for that.
Yeah. So in terms of the business side, so I know growing up, I remember when we were in school together, there was always the thing about Zynox, and I didn't know your mom had such a great career as well. So that also played a very, very big part in all you're doing today in terms of setting the values. So what kind of messages did they used to give you? Like, okay, Nnamdi, you know, this is what you have to do to succeed? Or was it just mainly what they showed you so you learned by experience?
Yeah, honestly, I think I'm someone that learns from experience, you know. Like my parents never really sat me down and said, okay, this is what you should do, this is how you should do it, like these are the morals that you need. It was just like me seeing them, you know, seeing them grind, seeing them go from my family, we when I was born, my family was I won't say we're poor, but my family was not doing well, you know. To see them come from nothing to something and still maintain that level of dedication, that level of discipline, even when they became successful, like that really changes your mindset. So it lets you know, number one, that you can start something from nothing and make it something great.
Yeah.
And it also lets you know that even when you become quote unquote great, you still need to keep that discipline, keep that mentality to sustain it.
So you say they've been a very massive influence on your life.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So we're going to touch on BIS a bit more because we went to school together and we were in the same class I've known him for 15 plus years. So I want to know, what was their impact on you in BIS? Because I sense you are, like, I guess it makes more sense now, knowing that, they kind of give you a bit more freedom. I'm going to touch on, like, in BIS, you were always smart, but you were very, very playful, like, kind of like the class clown.
Yeah, class clown. I won class clown one of the years.
The class clown in a way. So I want to know, like, so was it kind of also based on, you didn't really feel pressure that, I must be this. You were just kind of finding yourself, would you say?
Yeah, I think so, and I mean, that's still my personality.
Yeah.
I'm not like
super serious all the time.
I describe myself as divergent, meaning that I feel like everybody should have divergent personalities. You shouldn't just be like a serious person all the time or a sports person all the time or joking all the time. You have to have a divergent personality, and that's what makes you human, So in BIS, I was always playful, making jokes in class. But the funny thing is I took class very seriously.
You were smart. That's why, like, I'm sure people would have probably underestimated you because, like, you were just kind of, like, again, like seeing like the class clown. But again, people that actually watch closely could see that you were very intelligent. You also did your music. You were doing a lot of different things, right? Yeah. So do you think at that point in time, your personality then, was there a reason behind it? Were you trying to maybe get acceptance, validation, or was that just your personality? Or were you just trying to try and fit in your own type of way and kind of carve out your own niche, in our friendship groups?
Maybe a little bit of trying to gain acceptance, because they for people like we that are class clowns, there's also a little bit of insecurity around it, But I think, I'm just someone that, like, if something stupid comes in my head, I'm going to say it. So, like, if a teacher says something and I can link a joke to it, I'm just going to blurt it out, So that also plays a part in it. But I mean, in school, like, for me, why I also respect my parents is that they never told me, okay, you have to do this extracurricular activity or you can't do music. I was in a rap group with Davido, Iceberg Crew. So I mean, they never really restricted me in terms of what I should do. They just kind of opened up all the doors. Okay, you want to play basketball, cool. You want to play golf, cool. You want to, cool. And they kind of let me explore everything and then decide what I want to do.
So that I was gonna bring up that Davido. I remember I even did like a hook for one of the songs that you guys probably know this. So like, what again? Can you remember those times? Like, how great were those times? And like, do you guys have?
I remember those times so clearly. Like, I remember the first time David, he had an Escalade. I remember the car so clearly. He had an Escalade with like a GameCube in the back of the Escalade. They used to use it to pick him up from school. So one day we're in the Escalade, we're playing like this GameCube. And then I just heard this song, like this rap song. I'm like, who's this? Like, yo, bro, that's me. I'm like, what? Yeah, I was shocked. So I started playing it for everyone, and he was embarrassed. Like, yo, bro, why you play this shit for everybody? But yeah, but that's how we clicked. And then like that weekend, I went to his crib. I wasn't a rapper, but we were just chilling. And then I dropped the verse on the song. Then Toby dropped the verse on the song. Then we released the song in school. It became the hottest song in school.
Yeah, I remember very clearly.
Yeah, but
great times.
Yeah, good times. That's how it started.
I remember those times very well, and even till today, I don't know if you still have a relationship with David, but he's still so accessible, so humble, and it's great to see all our peers doing great things in their own way, in their own different fields. You're doing your thing in business. He's doing things in music. We're all doing our own different things. I would say, like, your experience, I think, again, just for people to kind of latch onto and maybe hear from, do you feel how maybe you were underestimated? I don't know if does that motivate you today? Because maybe not everyone would know this, but like, again, being back then, I would feel that maybe everyone didn't take you as seriously as they should have at that time. Again, based on what you gave out to the world at that time. Yeah. So has that ever motivated you? Like, you want to be the best. You want to be not better than people, but like, did that motivate you in any way? Or is that just how it was?
I want to be the best. I want to be better than everybody. But I feel like you have to have that mindset to be successful.
Yes, for sure.
And I love being underestimated. I feel like it gives me, Michael Jordan used to say that before he plays a game, like he used to find something that would push him a little bit. Maybe it's a news article.
You find like a very small thing.
Yeah, something very small.
And at times those things don't even exist.
Yeah,
like you find
out, like you make it up in your head.
You make it up in your head. Like, oh, this guy was looking at me funny, and it's like, that's what he uses, and that doesn't even exist.
Yeah,
so,
but but it works, you know.
Yeah.
Like
It does.
It pushes you a little bit more, you know.
Yeah.
Those seconds when you're tired, it's 2 a.m. You're on your laptop,
I
you're
agree.
trying to get things done. It pushes you a little bit more.
I 100% agree. I think to be great at anything, I think you need to have that pettiness, that desire to be great, right? Like no matter what it is, like sometimes even if working out, sometimes maybe in the morning at like 5 a.m., maybe I'm jogging on the bridge. In my head, like to push myself, I'm like, other people aren't doing this right now, right? You know, everybody's like they're relaxing. Or whether it's work, is like when you're putting that extra bit of effort. I think these are things that as young people, is very, very important because those really small details, I think those are the things that get you there. Just by being, you know, comfortable, right? Like you actually can be good, but you can't be great. Right? I don't think you can.
Yeah, true.
Okay, Nnamdi, so to get to know you a bit better, I have some quick fire questions for you. So just answer how you like. So first one, and we all know from your Instagram, guy, you're a world traveler. We see you all over the world. So what's your favorite holiday destination?
Oh, that's a tough one. I feel like
if you had to pick one.
If I had to pick one, okay, it's quick fire. So I have to pick one off the top of my head. I'll say Dubai.
Yeah. Why? You can also say like, what do you enjoy?
I feel like Dubai is very diverse. Even though I don't like Dubai because it's a very like material place, you know.
Okay,
like, it's a little bit artificial,
you
know. But I feel like if there's anything you want to do, you can do it there. Yeah.
Okay, so as a leader, what are you more hands-on or hands-off in like your approach?
Oh, hands-on.
Yeah. And why is that out of like your micromanager, or like you just feel like you need to be you know in charge to get everything done?
I think I used to be a lot worse, but I think I'm a lot better now.
I was gonna say, is this something you're working?
Something I'm definitely working on. But I feel like, especially early stage when you're starting up the business, it's very important to be hands-on in everything, you know, because you carry the vision, and sometimes as a leader, you're not the greatest at communicating that vision to everybody or selling that vision to everybody. So you can sell it, but it's not as clear-cut in their minds as it is in yours. So I feel like sometimes you just have to get your hands dirty to make sure everything is being done up to your standard. So
the next one, following up on that, what would you say are your strong points as a leader? Like, do you think your strengths?
I think accessibility. Okay. Like anybody in the company can call me anytime and I'll pick their call. So it's good for people to feel that that level of accessibility. And what does I see my strong suit? And I'll say, just in terms of like mentorship and guidance, like letting people grow within the organization.
Okay. Do you prefer a night in or a night out?
Oh, night in.
Why are you lying? Why are you lying?
Honestly, it's very difficult to see me out in Lagos. When you see me out, it's for a reason. But
so night in, just chill at home.
I am chilling, maybe Netflix. Watching NBA games at night. So watching NBA games or just chilling at home with friends, you know. Okay. Playing poker sometimes.
So what hobby do you have that people might be surprised that you have?
All my hobbies are public. I love basketball. The only hobby I probably have is like maybe playing poker. Okay. That's also public. And recently I picked up Pilates. Okay. I heard LeBron James say that he does Pilates. And that guy is 39 and looking like he's 25. So I'm like, okay, I'll try this out.
I think that's the answer. So what's your biggest motivation to succeed?
I think it's the fear of failure.
Love it. LeBron or Jordan, and why?
See, honestly, I have to say LeBron. Okay. And the reason I say LeBron is because I was really young in Jordan era. Like the old heads, they saw all the Jordan games. Like the same way I'm up at night watching LeBron, they were up at night watching Jordan. You know, so just from the experience I've seen LeBron, the greatness, the consistency, being 39 and still dropping like 29 points, it's just ridiculous. You know, so I have to say LeBron.
Yeah, speaking my language, man, I'm probably the biggest LeBron stan in this world, man. Like I just love the guy, man. Everything about him.
Okay. So would you pick LeBron over Jordan?
All day. LeBron is my goat, man. LeBron is my goat. Who won the beef between Kendrick and Drake, and why?
Oh, it's tough, man. They're going back to back. But see, honestly, I have to give it to Drake right now.
Oh, really? Okay.
What's the last song he dropped? House.
The Heart something 6.
The Heart, the Heart 6.
Yeah, the Heart 6. Yeah.
And his position was basically like, yo, bro, like
you're going to
you're first of all, everything you're saying is a lie. Yeah. You're talking about me being a pedo. Where's the evidence? All the shit I said about you, I've shown you the evidence. Yeah. So I feel like Drake he's in the lead right now, in my opinion.
Okay. What's your most expensive purchase?
Oof. That's a tough one. No, it's probably property.
Property.
Yeah, property.
Okay. Okay, so a more serious one. Give us a moment you felt God really showed up for you.
When God has showed up for me.
Yeah, that one that stands out that you're like, wow, like maybe it just really stood out? Like, wow, you really came through this particular moment.
Yeah, I think there was a point in time in Yudala back then. Yudala, we grew very quickly and we're doing very well. But the problem when you grow quickly, you're spending a lot of cash to maintain your growth, and it got to the point where we're a little bit. We felt like we've peaked in our growth.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, like within like 1 or 2 weeks of having this feeling, okay, what are we going to do? Do we raise funding? Like what are we going to do? Like how do we make this happen? I got a call from the CEO of Konga.
Okay.
His name was Shola.
Okay.
I was the CEO at that point. And it was talking about collaboration. He wants to do this and this. But when your competitor calls you to tell you he wants to collaborate, I'm like, there's something wrong. So we had a meeting, we sat down, and at that point he told me that, okay, the investors in Konga are looking at selling the business. And for us, that was a really big opportunity that came out of nowhere because we're looking at how to expand. Konga had, at that time, like 3 million customers. They had a marketplace, which we're looking at expanding into. They had a logistics company. So they already had everything that we needed. And it was such a good deal that we couldn't refuse. So I feel like God just came and handed that over to me at that time.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great one. Okay, so what does legacy mean to you? I think it's a great question for you because, again, the infrastructure your family has created also for you to succeed. So I wonder, like, what does it mean for you? What does legacy mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, legacy is everything. I say everything I do today, I don't do it for myself. I do it for my future kids. Even though I don't have a wife yet, but
we'll touch on that.
I do it for my future kids. Because at the end of the day, my father put in a lot of work to build a name, and a lot of doors that might open for me today is just based off his name. Oh, that's Nnamdi Ekeh's son. And that opens the door for me. So I want to give the same privilege to my children and my grandchildren. So it's very, very critical to me.
Love that. Okay, you touched on Yudala briefly in the quickfire questions. So you founded it in 2014, I believe, around then, 2014, 2015, which means you'd have been like 23, 24, that kind of age, or 22. Yeah. So again, that's crazy, man. What was your mindset at that time? Because a lot of us at that age were just trying to figure out adulthood. So I'm wondering what made you take that risk? What gave you the confidence to take that risk? And I'll ask more questions on it as we go on.
Yeah, I mean, I always knew I wanted to start some of my own business, Okay. It's just that I didn't know it would take off that quickly. At that point in time, Jimmy and Konga were, I think, about maybe a year or 2 years old. So when we're coming with a little bit different model in terms of doing offline and online. And we're just coming with, we had a very good supply chain network in terms of being able to bring in products at very good prices. We felt that, okay, that will give us an edge against competition and allow us to compete. And it really worked out, But there was a lot of fear. There was a lot of self-doubt. There's a lot of believing that, who am I to do this, But I think that's part of what builds your character and makes you stronger, I feel like you said, you should never be comfortable. Yeah. Like, if you're comfortable, it means you're not pushing yourself. Pushing yourself enough.
So what in your head, what were you trying to achieve? Again, like I said, knowing there was Jumia and Konga, like what was your goal when you created Yudala at the time?
So honestly, from the onset, like I said, I'm a very ambitious person. So our goal was to be number one in Nigeria.
Okay.
To pretty much be the Amazon of Nigeria.
Okay.
And it started off very tough. Nigeria is a very tough market to crack. But I feel like what's holding us back the most in Nigeria is the lack of infrastructure and lack of access to internet, or what you call internet penetration rates. But I feel like right now in Konga, we have north of 4 million customers, but that's out of 200 million people in Nigeria. So I feel like the future is when a lot of Nigerians have access to the internet, a lot of Nigerians are able to shop online.
Yeah.
That would be the big bang, because if you can capture Nigeria, you don't even need to go outside the borders of Nigeria. It's such a huge market.
So you just mentioned some of the challenges. So would you say that was the biggest challenge? We'll get to Konga later, but with Yudala at that time, would you say that was the biggest challenge in terms of the internet penetration rate?
Oh, yeah. It was even getting in, because you have two guys who had very strong backing. Konga was backed by Naspers and Kinevic. Naspers is a huge venture capitalist firm. They invested in Tencent very early, so they have a lot of money, So you have huge companies investing in both Konga and Jumia at that time. So we're a small player, family-run business, and you have to compete against these guys. So it just required a lot of creativity, doing things differently, connecting more with your suppliers, with your network, to try to have a little bit of an edge over those guys.
So for people that don't know, Yudala is still running today, right?
Oh no. So
it's
what happened in 2018 when we acquired Konga?
Yeah.
We run both of them simultaneously for about 6 months, 8 months, and then we merged the two companies together. So we maintained Konga's name because Konga was a bigger brand at that point in time, but we just changed the color because Konga was blue, so we changed it to the Yudala like Fisher pink color.
Okay.
And we just kind of merged the brands together.
So I kind of touched on it before. So in terms of, again, being a young adult at that time, finishing, you would have finished uni just a few years, before that.
Mm-hmm.
So how was it balancing all that? Again, trying to figure out yourself as a man now, relationships, dating, then there's work, there's that kind of work, starting your own business.
Mm-hmm.
How were you able to balance that with social life, work life, even like family? Like what was that time like in your life?
So the answer is I wasn't able to balance it because at that early stage in my life, we were just work. I wasn't thinking about anything else. I think later on, I became a lot more mature. I learned how to delegate a lot more.
Yeah.
How to hire very strong team members across like core areas of the business, and then how to take a step back and focus more on strategy and execution. I still have to stop myself from getting like involved in every single thing, but I think I got a lot better at doing that. And when you do that, you have a little bit more time to focus on family because those things are important.
Yeah.
If you don't have that balance, then as a human being, you start to lose your mind almost. And one thing that really helped me is when I took a step back, I went to do my MBA. It also gave me a different perspective. It told me that I was thinking too small, and there's a larger picture.
Yeah.
And to get to that larger picture, I have to step back.
We'll touch on that Oxford experience.
Mm-hmm.
I also know again this with Yudala, like day to day, and like again to have achieved what you did. Do you feel like people need to, like, do you think balance is possible? Because again, we'll touch more on that with Konga, but I just felt like at that point in your life, do you think you needed to have kind of sacrificed friends, sacrificed relationships for that? Because I have a younger brother now who is about 24 now, and he's very much like work, like he wants to start. He started his own company now, Top Threads, and he's very much like, man, forget babes, forget parties. All he wants to do right now is just kind of grind, and I don't love that approach personally. That's not how I approach it, right? But like that's how he's approaching it, and it seems like similar to what you did. So do you think there's room for balance in terms of trying to be successful when you're younger, or do you think you have to, or like the percentage, maybe like 80% grind, and then, or like do you think you have to just forget everything for a bit of time so you can enjoy later?
I think that's a tough question.
Tough,
because I think everybody differs, but for me, like at that point, like what's even the question? It's just like
it had to.
That was my number one priority. So of course, like if my friend had a birthday, I'll go for the birthday. But if I had something to do with work, then I won't go for that birthday. I won't go for that wedding. It was just my mindset and my mentality. But I think that for a certain stage when you're starting the company, it's extremely critical for at least 95% of your focus to be there. Because don't forget, if your competitor has a stronger mindset and is doing 99%, then you're in trouble, So as much as possible, give it your all. When things stabilize, that's when you can start to balance a little bit.
Yeah, so I think it's a good point. Like, so especially that early stage, it's not necessarily like, oh, I'm even choosing just work. It's like there's so much work when you're starting off, right? That naturally your attention goes there.
Yeah. I mean, you do everything at the start. You're doing marketing. You're working in the warehouse. You're doing your finance. So
I think for me anyway, I think different personalities, right? Because I think for me, how my mind works, I need, like, I feel like I have a good work-life balance, even though I'm super busy at work. Now CEO of my whole group, or like I'm chasing like my passions with this. I feel for me to function well in either, like I feel I need that balance also, because I've been those moments where like it's just work, but like then for me I burn out. Like it's just I just need I need a bit more release. So maybe the balance might be 65, 35, something like that. Where like, but like I need that balance. But I know for other people, I feel you guys sometimes also think like, if I'm not like doing this 24/7 in my head, like you said, maybe competitor is doing more than me, right? And like it might not always be the case. Like you might actually be doing yourself a disservice because you're like 24/7, right, to beat the competitor. But it's like you might still also be able to achieve what you want to and do the things you want to, even if you give yourself like an extra hour or two a day, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's just different. I think there's a difference there,
Yeah.
but I know like that motivation, like I need to do all this now because someone else is working as hard as me, right?
Yeah.
So I get it. But
no, but also like when you're younger, you have to prove yourself. When you're a little bit older and you're in higher positions, like you're not the CEO, then you have people working with you that you could, like, for example, my CEO Dave.
Yeah.
I know that if he's sitting in the meeting, there's a 98%, 99% chance that he will take the same decision I'll take in that meeting, you know. So it's that level of trust and comfort that you build in your people.
Okay, so going to Konga now, I think that's a very big deal, big achievement. So congrats to you and your family. So to start, I don't know, when did you take that role as CEO of Konga? Konga
so
Group?
when we acquired Konga,
20.
we ran like a dual CEO kind of structure until 2022.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's when I finished my master's and I came back.
You came back.
My co-CEO moved on, and then I took the realm as the group CEO.
So, onto your dad. Again, we mentioned Zynox briefly. Yeah. So again, growing up, that's like technology, computer kind of stuff, right? So how big an influence was that on you, seeing how he worked? Because again, I remember in BIS, we used to call you Zynox sometimes as well. Like it was such a big thing. Mm-hmm. So like in terms of like the path in life you've taken now, how much of an impact was that?
Oh yeah, definitely a lot, man. Because my dad works 24/7. Like he's like, for him, there's nothing like balance. Yeah. Like I remember I went on a family vacation. We went on a cruise ship, and you go on a cruise ship because you stop in different locations. You go out, you see the city. He never once left the cruise ship. The whole time he was sitting by the pool on his laptop. So he's like, okay, this is my vacation. At least I get to sit by the pool and work. You know, so he has that kind of mindset that he's always busy. He's extremely hands-on, full on. Like he wants to get involved in every single thing. He wants to sign off every single thing. So I'm trying to get him to ease back a little bit, you know, but he still has this old school mentality that for you to run your business, you must do every single thing, no matter how large the business gets. But it gets to the stage where the business has scaled so much that you can almost kill yourself if you're trying to get involved in every single thing.
Yeah. I think for a similar, I think, again, that the generation above, like I know my parents, basically, they're very similar. Like so I think that Nigerian does, you know, they're very similar. Even my mom as well. Creating the whole group and everything. But I think she's got to the point now where one thing, her biggest skill, I think, like delegation and like creating processes whereby, like during COVID, for instance, she was stuck in the US and like she had already created like a structure, like a very good structure where we were able to like, you know, handle things. And I'll say similar to now. So I think that's a skill that I think we have to learn, especially as we're growing in our careers, right? Because I don't want to be the dad that I'm going on like a cruise holiday with my family, right? Like, I think those are the moments. I think, again, this is my own perspective. I think for me, I want to be, it's easier said than done, right? I know when we get to those positions, like, it's going to be tough to say, okay, I'm going out to the beach when there's stuff to do, right? But I think we need to do as much as possible to make sure that's the case so we can actually enjoy those moments, because that's what matters the most, right?
True.
I think they always say if you, you know, when we're older and we're, you know, when we're much older and like going, you remember those moments more than, you know, the work. But at the same time, we need to get the work to enjoy the life that we want. True. It's like the biggest fine balance.
It's balance.
It's the balance. So the adjustment from Yudala to Konga and like your role, how big an adjustment was that? And like after your masters, you got all that knowledge. The size of Konga and all that it does, how big an adjustment was that to kind of get into that role now in 2022 that you became the sole CEO? So how has that been?
Honestly, it was fun for me because it was a little bit challenging initially because you come from running like one business to running like several businesses, because Konga was pretty much a group.
Yes.
And within the time frame we acquired Konga, we coughed out Konga Travels, Konga Health. We fully built out a logistics company called Konga Logistics.
Okay.
So you go from running one company to running like a group of different companies, you know. So it's like a whole new challenge because you don't have like one key focus. You're focused on making sure that the vision of all these different companies is actualized and how everything tries to connect together for the growth of Konga in general. So that was a challenge, but for me, I enjoyed it. I learned about new industries, and for me, it was an overall great experience.
So what's the staff strength? Like, let's say like the staff strength of like your different locations. Like, how many people do you have to not deal with one like personally, but like what's the staff strength that people are dealing with?
So overall, we have about 750 people.
750?
Yeah, in Konga today.
So again, what's that like? What's that like being the CEO and having to deal with people? I'm sure people come to you for different reasons. You said you're also accessible. So what's dealing with that large number of people? What's that like?
See, you can never always be right or always be loved or always be great. But I think what's important and why I hold to my chest that I've done my best at is being able to, tell people the honest truth, and being able to be open with people and listen to people also. And having your people at the center of every decision that you make, as much as possible. Because the reality is, if we look at Nigeria as a country, in the last year, inflation has skyrocketed. Inflation, I think, is north of, if I'm not miscorrect, like north of 30% right now.
Yeah.
It's getting worse. The naira is devaluing, so this is impacting everybody. Energy costs are rising, and the question as a businessman is, what do you do for your people to help ease them? But you have to kind of balance it, because you don't want to put the business in a situation where the business now dies.
It's also affecting
the business. Yeah, the business has to run lights. The business has to pay its bills, and all those bills are increasing. But your revenue is not necessarily increasing, and then consumer spending power is dropping, so it's also affecting your revenue. So there are so many things that are moving at the same time.
Crazy,
what I do with my people is every quarter we have a town hall meeting. I tell them how the business is doing, fully honest. I tell them what's going on, all the good parts and the bad parts, and then I ask them for questions. Is there anything you guys want to ask me? And my people are very open. We have a very young workforce, so they're very open. They'll hit you with the questions, and I answer the questions for them. I told them what we can do, what we'll look at, what we can improve, and so on and so forth. I think maintaining that line of communication is critical.
I think the point you made about how the economic situation is affecting businesses, at the same time, want to make stuff like easier. At the same time, consumer spending is affected. Just finding, like, your juggling is so difficult, right? So I wonder, like, when you're going to bed at night, how do you unwind from all these stresses? Like, even let's say, how do you, before you even go to bed, actually, how do you unwind after a day of work? How do you, what do you do for relaxation?
So to sleep, I had to start meditating, because it for me was impossible. Like, as you're lying down in bed, you're thinking about, I have to do this. This needs to be done. Let me just quickly put on my laptop and do this. So, like, it became impossible to fall asleep. So what I'll do is not any like funny form of meditation. As I'm lying down,
just breathe.
I just breathe in, breathe out. I try to shut my mind and think about nothing. And after like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you see that your body calms down, your heart rate literally goes down, and you feel a little bit more relaxed, and then you can sleep.
I think that's one of the biggest challenges I faced too. I remember growing up, and again, parents would be like, they struggle to sleep. And I was always a person that used to sleep very easily. But I think just the exact same thing. Sometimes you wake up, you just use the bathroom, and a thought comes into your head, and like, my mind is just flooded. I can't go back to sleep. And it's another thing with fine balance, because those are the kind of things that, God forbid, can affect someone's health. Like, you're not sleeping, you're not resting, because at the same time, like, you need to make sure the business is good, right? So, there's no manual for it. We just have to keep on doing it as best as we can.
Right.
So let's say, apart from at night, so how do you relax during the weekends? Do you get the chance to relax? Do you get the chance to, play golf, play basketball? Like, what are you doing to relax?
Yeah, I mean, it's on case by case basis, like this weekend, for example, I have a management retreat from like 9 to like probably end like maybe 4 or 5 evening. So my Saturday is completely gone. But if my Saturday wasn't gone, I'll probably maybe hit the gym, go play some basketball, sometimes maybe go out for dinner with friends or go for drinks and stuff like that. So pretty much just like chill vibes.
So what would you say so back to Konga, like, what's your day-to-day, like, what does it look like, your day-to-day?
My day-to-day, my days shifts quite often. Shout out to my PA, man. She saved my life, I'm telling you, because I'm usually very bad at structuring my day, but she helped me kind of put a structure around my day. But every day I wake up usually between 4:30 and maybe 5:30. Take my dog for a walk. Maybe do some cardio in the morning. It just depends on how I'm feeling, or just get some work done. Then head to the office. I have a meeting.
What time? Office.
Usually I'll get to the office around 8. I have a meeting every day with my management staff by 8:30. It's kind of like just like a stand-up meeting. That's like 30 minutes just to get updates on everything. And then depends on my schedule, like busy periods I'm booked like the whole day. Maybe I have like 10-15 minutes in between my meetings. On less busy days, I try to get some more work done, connect with staff, find out what's going on, solve issues and stuff like that. So it really just depends on what's going on in that particular day.
I think there'll be like so many questions people want to ask about Konga. So again, the website and like all the items that are delivered. How do you, what's that supply process like? How do you, continue to ensure that you have all the items there? How do you know, okay, maybe these are the items that people need? Like, what's that whole process like in terms of like your products, in terms of your supply? Like, what, how hard is it to like, juggle everything, manage everything? Yeah. What was that whole process like?
It's a very dynamic process, different things moving at the same time. But for our supply chain, we rely a lot on merchants. Almost 80% of everything we deliver is merchant products.
Okay.
So meaning that people come on a platform, they want to sell, and they supply to our customers. So we come in as like a middleman between the merchants and the customers. But of course, like 20% of our sales are items that we stock in our warehouses ourselves and supply. So it's really just creating that supply chain around delivery nationwide. So like kind of by mistake, we actually created like probably one of the most efficient last mile delivery companies. Because when we started off, there was no company that was doing last mile deliveries in like Kano or Maiduguri and stuff like that. So we had to create that. And by creating that, we now started to offer that as a third-party service to other providers.
So long-term, what like company goals, what are you guys looking to do? Are you guys trying to go out of Nigeria? Maybe, what's the vision for Konga?
Yeah, we definitely have expansion plans, but, our competitor really suffered from expanding too quickly.
Okay.
And burning a lot of money doing that, So our expansion plans are a lot more intentional. We have a lot of subsidiaries, and based on the success of them in Nigeria, that's what we want to expand. Like Konga Pay is already expanding beyond the borders of Nigeria. Konga Pay is applying for a license in the UK, in Canada, and we have a lot of expansion plans across Africa, in Ghana and Ethiopia. So there's a lot of work being done on that end. Same thing for Konga Travels. Our e-commerce business is a little bit more complicated because until the African Free Trade Agreement is solidified, we feel like expanding e-commerce across Africa is not as easy as it sounds, because you have to look at the supply chain within that country. So if I go to Ghana, for example, how many products can I ship into Ghana? How regularly? What's the kind of supply chain like? How many products are easily accessible to people? How many merchants do they have that we can onboard onto the platform? So you have to ask those questions. And sometimes, especially in Africa, it's very difficult to get answers to those questions. So we'll be a lot more intentional with our expansion, but it's definitely something we have in our future plans.
So I think we touched on it a bit in the quick fire question. So like your leadership style, how would you say you approach work and you approach your staff? So you said you're accessible. What would you say? Are you quite strict? Are you, how do you handle people making mistakes? What's your leadership style?
So I think I let people make mistakes, but you have to make a logical mistake. Like you can't make a stupid mistake. So if you make a mistake, I ask you, okay, what was your thought process? Like, why did you take this decision?
Yeah.
If you can explain to me in a logical reason why you took that decision, then there's no problem. Okay, we'll sit down together and figure out how do we move forward. Yeah. But if you can't explain to me in a logical way, then I get very, 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 very annoyed because number one, it means either you don't care or you didn't take your time, and these are mostly senior management staff I interact with. So as senior management staff, you take your time to make decisions. If you can't do that, then there's a big problem.
A big issue I face is I feel, especially like being a family business that I'm now working as one of the heads, I feel the difficulty that people, and I guess naturally so, people they're not as invested in the business, right? So in terms of like I don't feel people take as much care because sometimes it's like, they're naturally they want to get their salary, but they don't have that extra bit of diligence or like excellence where, every small thing matters. And that's a big issue I found. And I think as a leader, we're meant to be able to like communicate with them and like again share the vision, right? And I think that's probably one of the most difficult things to do as a leader, where it's to like sharing the vision and getting people to connect with the vision, right? I think some people do, some people don't. So I don't know, do you feel like you're able to really share and connect the vision with some of the maybe lower level staff?
Oh yeah. So I think I've gotten very good at communicating my vision to management team.
Yes.
The challenge usually comes when one is like cascading it further down,
that's
all the way
lower level,
to lower tier of people. But I think it's just a continuous effort. I don't think there's any brand in the world that's gotten 100% right.
Yes.
The closest will probably be maybe like an Apple or maybe like a Nike. But I don't think there's any brand that's gotten it 100% right. So it's just a continuous improvement. I believe in the concept of Kaizen, continuous improvement, just doing everything you can to improve day by day.
Yeah.
And hopefully the collective effort of all that should lead to radical improvements in the future.
Love that. Okay, so we kind of touched on this a bit. That hunger to succeed, right? That desire to succeed. I find it very interesting, especially as, again, you said maybe when you're very young, you guys didn't have like that much, but I feel obviously growing up, you've been your family's quite successful. You guys have, nice place, you guys travel a lot. So I always like to know from people in our generation, like, why do you have that strong hunger and desire to succeed, despite, again, it's very easy for someone like you to be complacent or comfortable, right? And I feel there are a lot of people, in that situation that have had a lot and have just kind of been comfortable and just fallen by the wayside. So why do you have that hunger to succeed despite having what you have?
I think sometimes maybe the mindset is you have something to prove. Like Davido calls themselves Emi or Mobabalu. Yeah. And that's because, when you come from a good background, people kind of write you off like, this one, life is easy for you, But I think, like I said before, like when people count me out, it motivates me a little bit more. So you feel like you have something to prove. Because the reality is that, see, whether your father is Tinubu or Bill Gates, see, to run a business, you have to run the business, A lot of people start businesses that are not successful, regardless of your social class or who you know. So I always just felt like I have something to prove. And this is something I'm passionate about, I love building things. I love seeing something come from nothing to something, So I think part of it is the passion, part of it is the drive, the motivation, or the mindset of being counted out and having something to prove.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. I think similar for me, I feel, my first driving point, motivation is to, I don't know if it's oldest child syndrome, but like to please my parents, I want to show them that I'm worthy of, carrying on the name, carrying on the legacy. So for me, that desire to almost kind of please them, so I can to also show that I can do this. I'm not just relying on you. I want to be great on my own. And of course, now I think the aim for every parent is like for their children to be greater than them, right? And I think that's also something I lean into now. Like I want to do even better. And the word legacy we mentioned. So I think that's
don't you feel like because you said part of what motivates you is trying to please your parents, but don't you feel that puts you in a tough position also? Because so let's say. So I used to be very similar. That when I was very young, I used to do a lot of things to please my parents. But I felt like I became a happier person when I did things to please myself, and that's really been my mindset for the last few years. So don't you feel like it affects you mentally when you feel like you always have to prove yourself?
So I think So no, it's a great point. When I say please them, I think less more like doing what they want me to do, but more like wanting to make them proud. I should say. Like I want to make them. I want to make them proud in the sense where. So even I'm doing my own thing or whatever it is, I just want them to be proud rather than that. I just want to please them. So I think that's a great distinction because trying doing it for others instead of trying to please others, it can be very stressful, very pressurizing and everything. So I think that's a great point. So we've spoken about future goals for Konga, but personal goals. What are your own kind of future personal goals? What more do you want to do? It's a tough question.
First of all, I need to get married, man.
Lagos's most eligible bachelor. Lagos's most eligible bachelor, guys. Trust me.
Yeah, I need to get married. Trust me. I need to find my queen ASAP. Get married. But aside from that, I love to travel. So I want to visit as many countries as possible. It would work. It makes it a little bit difficult because like half of the time I'm stuck in the hotel doing Zoom meetings, but I love to travel. I want kids, especially the daughters, My son can chill for a bit, Well, let me have like 2 daughters first, What else? And honestly, I just want to I'm the kind of person I take life day by day. I appreciate just being here, And anything that comes to me, like I like new experiences, So I like to try new things.
So just to expand on that a bit, so in terms of potentially getting married, is that something you do want? And what do you want in a woman? Like, what are you looking for in a woman? Tough question.
Very tough question. But I think, honestly, the first thing is just like somebody that can deal with my madness, Honestly, I don't think I'm a normal human being. So what I can do with my madness, I'm a little bit of a crazy person, very spontaneous, it comes with being an Aries, but someone that can kind of balance me out a little bit, I don't think you need to be like me. You need to kind of be a little bit less like me so we can have a little bit of balance, and somebody that's really just a friend, See, the reality is that we like talk up love and all these lovey-dovey feelings you get initially, but see, after 5 years, it's not going to be the same thing, So you really just want someone who's your friend, who, when something goes down, that's the first person you want to talk to. When things are wrong, that's the person you want to talk to for advice. And when things are right, that's the person you want to celebrate with.
I think, speaking from small experience, I think that's the most important thing. That friendship, I think, is the most important thing, because there will be days where it's like, so like in love, and like some days it's just like you're with your wife, right? And it's just normal. But like once that friendship is there, I think it's like that's the main thing.
So how'd you meet your girl?
So I met her at work actually in 2018. We just crossed paths, and then we had like mutual friends. So like I spoke to her mutual friend, our mutual friend, and then I DM'd her. But we didn't start dating for like a year and a half after that. So we've been started dating 2020, and then got married in 2023. So it does happen by chance. But again, I think when you have to be ready though, because I think you meet people before, but like if you're not ready, it doesn't really compute.
True.
So I think it's almost when you are like mentally there, and you meet that right person, then it kind of clicks. But sometimes you might have met someone before, but if you're not quite ready, it just won't work out.
Yeah, you're right.
So I think it's also about readiness, and when you're mentally there.
Yeah. But the streets are hot, sure.
I don't envy you guys. I'm not gonna lie, man. I don't envy you guys at all. So what advice do you have for young men and women that in business that are trying to achieve big things? What skills, traits do you think people need to be successful?
Yeah, honestly, I think it starts with your mindset and your mentality. A lot of people always try to boil like being successful in business to having access to funds. Or see, you can have access to $1 billion. If your business is not doing well, you're going to keep sinking into that capital until the capital disappears. And we've seen it happen to several businesses, especially in the tech space. So I think number one is your mindset. How much do you really want it? Like, is this something that you're willing to sacrifice your sleep, sacrifice your friendship, sacrifice your relationship, sacrifice everything for? And if the answer is no, then it's very tough, because those moments are going to come where you have to work, pull out all-nighters, where you have to sacrifice a birthday, a holiday, whatever the case may be, just to focus on your work. So if it's not something that you're passionate about, something you love, then I don't think you should do it. Number two is like discipline. I feel like, especially in Nigeria, people chase like instant gratification. Like everybody wants to blow sharp, and it's really this mentality that, Yahoo and all these things has created in the ecosystem, where somebody is struggling today and then tomorrow the person is driving is flying a private jet,
Social media, Instagram, all these things.
Social media also pushes that narrative, But I think it's really that patience. That's why I give respect to my parents also. Like, they never spoiled me. Like, I was never living like the richest guy in school. I was never like driving the fastest cars. I was never. My parents put me in a place like guy, like, we hustle to be here. Like, you to hustle small. You don't have to hustle but also hustle small. So it's really just having that patience and that mindset and doing what you love. And I think just giving it time. People feel like, if my business is not successful in a year, then it's shut down. Let your business grow organically. Unless you have funding to kind of accelerate that growth, but let it grow organically. Focus on the right things. Make sure that your customer service is good. Make sure that people love what you're offering. And if that's the case, keep doing it. And at some point, you hope to get some success.
I think those are great answers. I also add, I feel there's also the element of like I would say God as well. Like, I feel you have to also, the discipline is there, but I feel like you also need to involve, I believe you need to involve God in it as well. Prayers, the intentionality, and also, guidance, because there's only so much we can do. You might be the most disciplined person, you might, be the most intentional person, patient person, but I feel there's that element of God as well, which
100%. See, especially in Nigeria, you need God by your side for doing business.
It's tough,
because things change every day and it changes so quickly, so dynamic. But also from a little bit of more negative perspective, doing business is extremely difficult, especially in a place like Nigeria.
It is.
Like, you're going to have to deal with a lot of things that you never expected to deal with. You're going to have to deal with people asking you for things that they shouldn't be asking you for. You're going to have to deal with government on a separate level, especially as you scale your business. You're gonna have to deal with tax authorities. See, people come at you from different angles.
Honestly.
Government can change a policy overnight that affects your businesses and can crush your business completely. So you have to have really that strength,
that thick skin.
Yeah, that thick skin. That's you see, you can't be someone that's that's why I like our experience in high school. In high school we used to throw jabs at each other. It was non-stop. There was no limit to the jabs we used to throw. And that kind of builds a thick skin in you, growing up. Because without that thick skin, like if something goes wrong and you can't deal with it,
you're going to crumble.
You're going to crumble 100%.
So before we round up, I want to touch on your Oxford MBA experience a bit. So I know that taught you a lot, exposed your mind. So what was, again, when we hit the institution of Oxford, right?
Yeah.
I know what the excellence as associated with it. So how challenging was it? What were the biggest takeaways? How was the environment, like the Oxford environment? What was that like?
Yeah. So to be fair, I think Oxford is more challenging getting into Oxford than it is like the coursework, especially for an MBA, because MBA is a business degree, not 100% like very academic. Like you're not writing any thesis at the end or anything like that. So it's very engaging. You have a lot of teamwork exercises. You do have assessments and stuff like that, but nothing too crazy. But I think the key factor is really the network, like the people you meet. You're meeting like really exceptional people in different fields from everywhere around the world. So I think part of what it did for me is like I always had a very strong network in Nigeria, especially in tech space, in business space, banking space. But this kind of expanded my network like really global. Like honestly, there's no country I think I can go to where I don't know somebody that I can call and link up with and have a conversation. So like that helps you in the future. Like let's say you're expanding or you need a new partner somewhere. Sure. These are people that you can call on. So I think that network was second to none.
Okay. So for me on this podcast, I love to talk about, obviously, like I said, life experiences, success, struggles. But my main passion still is sports, right? I know you're a big basketball fan.
Yep.
So when did that love for basketball start? I know it's something you play like for recreation now.
Yeah.
When did that start, and how important is that in your life, basketball?
Oh yeah, so my love for basketball. So everybody else used to be a football person. That's why I used to hate school so much, because like there'll be one game, I'll come to school, everybody talking about the game. I'm like, guys, I don't watch football. So I started like getting interest in basketball when I was like maybe like 14, 15. Honestly, when I started playing, like I just loved the sport just from playing it, And that's when I started getting into like the NBA and stuff like that. But I think basketball for me is just like an escape, Like I had to build a court in my backyard, just so I could just shoot around. It just helps you like clear your mind. It's almost like a form of meditation. You're not thinking about anything. Just thinking about
shooting the ball when it goes in.
It's like some immediate gratification. Just hit a shot. So I think that's what it does for me, and that's why I love it so much. But of course, I love the entire sport. I love watching basketball. Shout out to the Los Angeles Lakers, even though we're out of the playoffs now. But it is what it is.
Who's your pick for okay, first of all, who are the teams going to play in the final? In the not the conference finals, the NBA finals, East and West, and who's your winner? And I'm going to play this clip again if it does happen.
So honestly, right now.
So just for context, so right now as we're recording, Minnesota 2-0 up over Denver, and New York Knicks are 2-0 up over Pacers. And on the East, Celtics are 1-0 up over the Cavs. And I think on the East it's pretty easy, right?
Yeah,
I think Celtics
is likely,
I think so.
Yeah.
So who do you think on the West?
So on the West, I think the Timberwolves. And the number one reason is Anthony Edwards.
Yeah.
Like people call him a dog.
Yeah.
See, dogs are friendly.
Yeah.
That guy's a wolf.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
He's ready to kill anybody in front of him. And that mindset, the only time I've seen that, or the last time I've seen that is Kobe Bryant. I never saw Jordan play, but I think Jordan also had that same mindset.
He's a wolf. That's a good one.
The guy is ready to kill anybody in front of him. Like he's playing against the
MVP,
the three-time MVP, I think now
at 22 years old.
At 22 years old, and he's destroying. And you can't, basketball is very individualistic. Like they try to put everything on one player, but he also has a great team. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns,
Cats,
like
Rudy.
They have a strong team. Rudy, Defensive Player of the Year again. So he has a strong team with someone. With a leader with that kind of mindset, like I think you're unstoppable.
So you think in the finals with them and the Celtics, you take the Wolves?
Oh yeah, because Tatum has been playing like shit.
It's not been good at all.
He hasn't been good in the playoffs, which is very sad because he had such a good regular season.
That would be a good one. I think the finals would be the Wolves and the Celtics as well. I don't know. I think maybe just based on the fact that Celtics have been there a few more times. I think that experience, but right now as it's going, I think I can understand you picking the Wolves, but I'll go the Celtics just. Okay, so to end the show,
let's drop some money now.
Okay, you heard the evidence is there. So to end the show, we have a redemption segment where we talk about a period in your life, or maybe something in your career or business where you kind of failed at something, maybe a deal or whatever it was, you failed at something but you learned from it and you recovered. So I don't know, is there any point in your life, in your experiences where you were like, damn, like something you actually like failed at or didn't do well at, and then you were able to recover from it and you learned from it? Tough one.
It's a tough one because, see, the reality is that in business, you fail almost every day. Like you have to take so many decisions, and some of those decisions don't pan out well. And I think part of growing is like being able to accept failure. And learn from it quickly and then move on, you know. But I think something where I failed was actually it was in my MBA application experience.
Okay.
So I applied to 5 universities and I got 4. But the one I wanted to go to the most, I didn't get it, which is Stanford.
Okay.
But I applied to Oxford, Stanford, Cambridge, Imperial College, and MIT. So I got everything else apart from Stanford, and I chose to go to Oxford. But for me, that was painful because that was really where I wanted to go. Like I could scrap everything else and just go to Stanford. But I think my experience in Oxford, what that taught me, I don't think I'll trade it for anything else. Like the people I met, great, amazing people. The friendships I forged. Even the lecturers I met, like even people outside my course, you know, just people that you meet just from being around Oxford. It was just incredible. So I don't regret it. I think it's something I recovered from it quickly, and I just learned to enjoy my experience in Oxford.
I think that's great to hear. I think the what you just said now as a CEO, head of a business. You actually fail every day because you can't get everything right. And I think, again, to succeed, you need to be able to recover from those mistakes and learn from those mistakes very quickly, right? And also understanding that we can't know everything. So because sometimes you make a mistake and it's like, damn, like, why didn't I know this? Or why didn't I predict this? So I think that's a great point. As business leaders, you fail every day. Like, you actually do fail every day. But the people that succeed the most, I think, are the ones that learn from their mistakes quickly. So this has been great, bro. I really appreciate you coming on the show, man. It's been great having you and reconnecting. So please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Please, Konga, I don't even need to say too much about Konga. You know, continue using them. We continue to hope for their growth, pray for their growth. They're going to keep doing great things in this space and continue to, succeed. And, I appreciate you coming on, bro, and your own personal success. I pray that you keep on growing and growing and growing. And eventually this Lagos bachelor life, bro, come and join us. Come and join us on this
2025, don't worry. I'm coming.
That's all, my brother.
All right, that's all, my G.
All right, take care.